So I've been asked to do a little video on grafting, which I'm basically not going to do, but what I'm going to do is show you how I do it. The reason I've said that is because I can't actually physically show you on video, and you really need to be grafting under a microscope to have any sort of hope of showing exactly what happens. But I'll show you what I do, and I'll show you how I do it, but don't expect to come away being the best grafter, because what it needs is practice, and you need to do different things. You need to try priming the cells yourself. I don't prime my cells. You need to try putting in the cells the day before and getting them polished out. I don't do that either. I have no problems, as far as I can tell. But what I'm trying to say is you must try different things, because it's become so apparent that everyone who grafts finds different little things that make it easier for them. So I'm going to show you what I do in more depth than what I did on my video, The Cell Builder Explained. So hopefully you can see that. So first of all, I'm going to obviously talk about my breeder queen. This breeder queen is a breeder queen I got from Kel Brandstrup in Holland. She arrived 2 weeks ago, and then she swarmed because I put her in a colony with a queen cell. But luckily I found her. And I tell you what, I was certainly worried, because when you see that queen flying around your apiary in a swarm, it certainly gets the old heart fluttering, because when you've spent a fortune on her, you really want to make sure that she stays in the box. So I don't believe in this, but I have clipped her wing now so she can't go, because I'm not having that kind of money flying off into the distance to sit in someone's chimney at my expense. Anyway, putting that aside, I've got this breeder queen, seems to be beautiful. I've just transferred her into a new box, so because I want to give her plenty of space, and obviously we've got a flow on now. Our main flow has just started, and there's bees going ballistic everywhere. It's like we've got the perfect weather, the perfect humidity in the grounds, and the perfect flow about to start with chestnut and bramble. So this is my breeder queen. I went to this box today because I actually transferred it from a 6-frame nuke back to a hive, because I wanted to give her more space. So it's a brand new hive, all nice and clean. You can see they're on the 6 frames in the middle, but they were running out of space anyway, and the flow's on, so I wanted to give them plenty of space. But I know that this frame just inside the second one in has actually got the perfect type of larvae, the perfect stage. So you see how quickly they're propolising everything up. So I'll just fold that back for now, put my hive tool in. This is the frame I want here. So I know that that frame there is the one with the eggs that are just the right age. I'm hoping this is going to lift out. Yes, it is. Now the breeder queen, she wasn't on this frame this morning, but she might be back on it now. If we can see, it'd be nice to spot her, because she is an absolute beauty looking queen. I don't know if you can see that. We've got, I can hold it up to the light there, we've got a lot of larvae that are just the right age. See, not in the middle the larvae are too big. You can see how she laid out. So at the bottom as well, but she started in the middle there, and she's come back and she's laid out. So the extremities of the frame are absolutely perfect age to graft from. Now I would like to also recommend that you watch Jason Chisholm's JCB's video on grafting, because he's done a more of an in-depth video on grafting and what to look for. But what you're looking for is more of a comma-shaped larva. Now the comma is when the larva is just hatched, but if you see a C shape, that's really the other end of when you want to be grafting. You don't want to be grafting any less than that. See her? I'm going to brush these bees off, and then I'm going to take it back up to the house, and then we're going to do some grafting up there. You can see she's laying up this frame pretty well. That's just full of brood, the whole frame. This side as well. Completely laid up with brood. Oh, there she is, look. So I don't know if you can see her. She's doubly marked, and she's an absolute beast. Looking very nice considering how she looked when I first put her in a few weeks ago. She's fattened up, her abdomen has increased in size, and she's basically a laying machine. So there we go. That's what €200 buys you. So I just use like a very loose cover when I put the hive back together, just for a minute while I'm going up to graft, because I'll graft in being back. The frame will be back in the hive in 20 minutes. So I'm not too worried about covering up the hive. It's too much of an effort to even put the roof back on. This frame, by the way, we're in warm weather. We've got a nice day for grafting. It's like 20 degrees now, so I'm not in any worry at all about these larvae getting chilled. So I'm back up at the house now, and I've got this frame in front of me that I've just taken out the breeder queen. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but we've got perfect sunshine behind us, and I've got this new iPhone that has got a much better definition on the camera and the video. So hopefully you can see this, and you can see the perfect size larvae to use. So all these here are too big. All that there, all these here are far too big. What you need to look at is where she ends her laying and she goes into the peripheries, the bit between where the eggs hatch out and where the unhatched eggs are. So as we move over, we can say about there is where you should be looking. And you should be taking the smallest larvae that you can find. So you can see eggs there, but you can also see larvae. Now the difference between the two, as I said before, when you see eggs there, you should be looking for, very nearby, you should see a very, very small like spot of raw jelly. And in that raw jelly is where you'll find the tiniest larvae that's just hatched. So I can't actually point it out, but you have to just look for that. And that's what you see. But if you go back to the eggs, then work your way down from where the eggs layer is, then you'll see hatched larvae. But it's the difference between the two you're looking for. You just want to go where they've just been born. And if you can see that one about there, that's the kind of thing this is the kind of level you should be looking at, where the first larvae is just at the tip of my finger there. That first larvae is just hatched out there. And if you can see that there, just there. That first larvae is hatched out there, but above it there's eggs, and beneath the larvae's too big. But that's what you want to be looking at, somewhere around there. So as I say, these larvae in the middle, these are far too big. You can see that really clearly there. I've got some excellent light on this. And you come over, and there the larvae get smaller. And that's what you should be looking at. Just on the edge there, where they suddenly become back to eggs again, that's where you want to be looking. You want the tiniest larva that's just basically a comma shape sitting in a puddle of jelly. And if you can get that, that's what you want. That's the ideal size, between 12 and 24 hours old. So I like to use a Chinese grafting tool like this, and they're really cheap, and they have a very thin blade at the end, or like a reed it's called. But what I do is I bend that over, and the lubrication of your saliva, gross though it might seem, is the perfect thing. So what you do, if it gets a bit sticky, you stick it in your mouth. If you get the odd larvae that doesn't work, you eat it. Delicious. But there you go, you can see how that works now. I'll just try and curve it a bit so you can see. As I plunge that off, the larvae just is pushed off the end, and that's what you want. But you don't want it too much, you don't want it too bent. You don't want it like that. That's too bent over. You want it, it's flattened off itself now, but you want it basically so that as you stick it in, you don't jam or jab the reed through the bottom of the cell, because often the cells are very fragile, because they're doing quite often a new wax. If you do that, you're trying too hard and you're going at it too wrong. You need to get that bent a little bit up, so when you go in, you slide underneath that, and you just literally lift up that larvae. And it's as simple as the process is, it really is. So I'll show you in a minute what I do, and then see if I can video that and show you how it works. So there's some tiny larvae that have hatched, there's eggs that haven't hatched, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm bending over my Chinese grafting tool, and you just get that in there, and literally that one's gone through. This wax is so soft. There you go, just like that, and that's what you want. There you go, that's the size larvae you want. I'm only showing you in bright sunshine because it's the most ideal thing to do. And I've got an assistant with me here helping out, filming this so you can see, but that's the size larvae you want. You can actually see the tiny little C-shapes on the end there. It's absolutely the smallest it could possibly be, and that's what you want to deposit into your cups. And if you can see that one there, it's borderline too big, but it's acceptable. And And the other thing to say is if you miss it first time, you move on to the next one. Don't bother trying to graft a second time with the same larvae, because invariably you damage it. It's as simple as that. Work in that same area where you know the larvae are going to be tiny. They've just hatched. That one is so small I can hardly see that. But I know there's a larvae there. That's a perfect one, that. So these are the finished larvae. I don't know if you can see in there. They're just about the right size. That's what you want. Absolutely tiny larvae. Just big enough to graft. There's a tiny C there. Look, just it's almost like a comma. So that's them all grafted there, ready to go back into the waiting, hopelessly queenless setup. But what I do is I put them in the cell bar up here and I hold them against the backing or on the back of another cell of the original frame I grafted from. So, and you'll notice also that I've got this piece of metal on the back of each one of the frames, and that means that whichever way, as long as I hold the cell bar this way up, that way up, they can never fall over. And I know other people say they just wait for the bees to popularize the joint and it's fine, they don't pop out. But if you know then that you've got, the metal on the backing, you can always rely on that and the cells never fall out, or the cell bar never falls out. So I'm back at the cell builder, made up this afternoon. Hopelessly queenless bees, enormously overflowing with bees, hopelessly lost, no larvae in that box. That was the box that was underneath. That's what's left when you make them hopelessly queenless. They're just desperate for larvae. They realise they've got no queen now, so I'm just going to pop these larvae in. And tomorrow morning I'll see what's been accepted, hopefully a large take. I don't actually need that many cells at the moment. I'll need more in about 4 weeks when we start doing splits after the flow's finished. But I need to have a trickle because we've got small mini plus mating nukes that constantly need new queens to put in. And also I have a colleague that uses lots of queens as well. So they'll always get used, but we're not doing a huge amount. We're just doing like maybe 150 this week. And that will do us, between us. By the time they get out there and they get out the incubator, there'll be some losses on the way, so that'll be a good number to work with. You can always get rid of virgin queens. So before I forget, this is what you need as well, pollen. Nice big pollen frames. Either side of your graft if you can, why not? I personally don't find that having open brood next to my bees makes any difference, because all you've got in that box is nurse bees anyway, and they'll soon find the larvae. What you need is this, and lots of it. You need pollen, and as much as you can get in. So I stick in 2 frames, one either side. And the bees are bringing it in anyway, and you've got a flow on. So there you go, look at that. So there's my cell builder, completely hopelessly queenless. Knock off those loose bees because you never get them back on otherwise. So, in goes the pollen frame. One there. Ease it down slowly because you can't actually get them to sink down properly because they're so full of bees. In goes the second one. In it goes, ease it down. And there's the third one. The third one is the graft. There's the graft, in it goes. Let it sink down. Now what I do, if I had a hive tool, it'd be a lot easier. What I do now is I push the frames up together. So the bees, they can almost sense that. Their larvae, look at them flooding towards there. They're flooding up over the top of those frames. And they're all acting on those frames. So I push these 3 together and I push the 4th one. What I'm going to do tomorrow is, when I come back into this colony tomorrow, I'm actually going to put in a frame of foundation, because tonight, where they're drawing these up, there'll be no flow on tonight, except the flow I give them. There's a little bit of space in this brood box. But I know that as tomorrow, because we've got such a flow running, if I don't start doing that, they're going to just build on everything. So I'm going to, where's that frame gone? It's disappeared. My smoker's gone out, but it still works, look. Just want to clear some of the bees off so I can push the frames the other side. Look at them pouring over there. There we are, look. You've got a smoker that's gone out, it'll still work, just with the ash in it, look. There you go, just to clear a space so I can see what the heck's going on. There's my 3 frames. Try to push these together. They're really runny, these bees actually. I think they might be almost on swarm mode, there's that many of them. But I know there's no queen, I saw her in the other box. So those 3 are pushed together now, and it helps stop brace comb. There you go, that's ready, that's in. So I'll be accepting those cells now. And that's part of what I do every time we graft. Fill it with food, fill it with bees, all nurse bees, and graft. Get those grafts accepted quickly, make sure there's no queen in, and usually you have no problems at all. I'm going to do a little video on how I adjust my finishers, which are there. I'm going to go into those tomorrow and show you how I adjust those before I add in my accepted cells. But that's coming up another time. Probably do that tomorrow and maybe publish it later in the week. Because it's important how you regulate the top and the bottom configuration to make sure you get some open brood near your accepted cells. I talked about not really being important in the cell builder, but I believe that when you're finishing the cells and you're using a top and a bottom, you should probably aim to get some open brood in the very top part next to where your cells are, because that's where your bees need to be aiming. Because in this one, we've only got nurse bees really, and forager bees, but nurse bees in high concentration, so they're going to find those larvae where they are. They're going to home in on them. In this, we've got all sorts being fed all over the place, so that's why I tend to be a bit more pernickety about where I put my different frames in this. And also it helps stop swarming, because that queen is in the bottom of this one, and if she runs out of space, she'll go. So you've got to regularly take frames from the top, or take them out if they're full of honey, take one from the bottom, take it up, and then put a new one in the bottom for her to draw out, for the bees to draw out and for her to lay in. That's all about managing that space. But I'll do that in the next video. Now we're going to get the lid on here and then still stick a feeder on tonight, because tonight might be cool. It's going to be about 18, 19 tonight. We've got warmer weather here, yes, but we still need it to be fed during the night, because I want those cells given the maximum amount. There is a flow, and as I said, look at that, there's just bees overflowing here. Absolutely wonderful cell builder. That's what I want to see every time. That's what it's all about. Just to finish off, what I like to do is also I put a empty super as a shell on top of the cell builder. So there's the crown board, but the right way up so they can't build between the top of the box and the crown board. You don't want that, you don't want any more than the bee space there, otherwise they'll fill that up. So you turn that up, and then inside you put your feeder. But I haven't got any tape with me, so I couldn't close off the hole, but what you can see is I've actually closed off the hole to like that, the other side, so that they can get the feed, but it's not, they can't empty the feeder straight away. It's just a trickle. It means they've got a supply of the night. They need that carbohydrate. Well, they don't probably need it, to be honest, but they've got it if they want it. I believe in giving them everything they can, because grafting is such a short time and the queens have to be made the best you possibly can. So that's what I do. Then that goes on, they're kept warm, and believe it or not, the nights aren't that warm. Even if they are in the 20s, you still need to put your insulation on, otherwise they're going to lose heat.